Leighton, la directora ejecutiva de la Fundación Chilena del Pacífico, y voy a ser la moderadora de esta actividad hoy día. Para que todos sepan, tenemos interpretación. Abajo en sus pantallas hay un globito para el que quiera, porque tenemos a un invitado internacional que va a hablar en inglés, así que para que lo usen. Nos alegra mucho el interés que han tenido nuestros webinars.
We are so pleased about the interest of our webinars that we have been conducting since last year. Today, what brings us together is a very interesting topic for our economy, SMEs and entrepreneurs. And we want to go into the opportunities for economic recovery of these medium and small enterprises.
Por la pandemia y que aún siguen en curso. Sabemos que las pymes, así como en general el mundo del emprendimiento, han sufrido como nadie el daño económico generado por las restricciones sanitarias. Estamos conscientes también de que esta situación, que es una realidad prácticamente todo el mundo, y ciertamente
is all over the world, and of course also in Asia Pacific and in Chile, it was exacerbated due to the impact of social unrest. And in the case of our country, it has been quite a big strike. And just to quote the Asset Association of Chile Entrepreneurs, 47% of entrepreneurships has been strongly impacted by the health crisis. 15.4% has been suspended, and only 6.1% has had some better effects. As the immunization vaccination process moves on, we see that national and international economy has given some signs of recovery. Also, this is a hope for opportunities for SMEs and entrepreneurs. Today, we have invited a renowned panelist, member of the Council of ABAC from the Philippines. I will introduce him in a while. And we have invited public and private representatives of Chile for them to explain some tools or programs that have been developed in recent years, especially for SMEs and entrepreneurs. So we thought it was very significant to show that not only the public world has reacted, but also the private world has reacted. And hopefully, based on these webinars, there will be greater collaboration with contact points and different programs. I will start introducing our international guest, Guillermo Luz. He is the CEO of Ayala Corporation, member of the Business Advisory Council, ABAC. Ayala Corporation is one of the largest and oldest business groups of the Philippines, with activities in real estate, banking, telcos, development, management of infrastructure, water, distribution of cars, subcontracting commercial processes, solution of electronic products, renewable energies, infrastructure, health, and education. He is also the co-chair of the private sector of the National Competitiveness Council of the Philippines public-private agency that develops strategies for competitiveness through political reforms, projects, institutional development, and monitoring of performance. He is director of resilience and advisor to the Philippine Foundation on Resilience in view of disasters, and main coordinator of the private sector for the risk reduction. Rodrigo Figueras, he is assistant manager of early financing of entrepreneurship management of Corfo. He has 10 years experience in innovation and entrepreneurship, was co-founder and executive director of the Evidence-Based Policy and Innovation Research Lab, EPIC Lab, of the Engineering School of the Catholic University of Chile, a lab designed to measure the impact of entrepreneurship policies. He was founder and general coordinator of Smart Lab of University of Desarrollo. Prior to that, was a consultant in different marketing agencies and digital communication for different brands and industries. Finally, Sebastián Castro, he is manager, SME customer manager of BCI Bank. He has more than 20 years experience in the financial sphere in areas like strategy, segments, products, projects, operations, undertakings, micro enterprises, and SMEs. His role is to design and lead a strategy to support SMEs and entrepreneurs through financial and non-financial tools. During 2019, he led the launching of the NASA Center of BCI Bank, a space for entrepreneurs to have access to comprehensive support in crucial aspects to develop and trigger the business ideas. Leads the initiative of Valor PYME from the bank with the purpose of contributing with concrete support to all the installed SMEs. He is the mentor of companies and participates advising entrepreneurs. And thank you, our panelists. We are happy to have you, and it's going to be very interesting to hear your presentation. Without further ado, I'll give the floor to Guillermo. Please go ahead for your presentation.
Thank you, Loretta. Would you like me to start? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Buenos dias and good evening from Manila. My name is Guillermo Bill Luz, and I am from ABAC, Philippines. First of all, Loretta, I want to thank you and the Fundación for inviting me to speak today about MSMEs in this time of pandemic. I'd like to speak about some opportunities for the reactivation of SMEs and entrepreneurship using some examples from the Philippines, but of course trying to draw examples from other parts of the of APEC and the world as well. So let me start. Uh, First, I think if we take a look at our situation, uh, we are like in the rest of APEC. We're all quite similar in the sense that we have a large number of SMEs. Actually, Chile and the Philippines almost have the same number of MSMEs or SMEs, almost the same share to total enterprises. Um, we have a more employees in the SMEs, but of course we're a far bigger country in terms of population, and our share to total employment by SMEs is quite high. It's 63% based on the 2017 data, and the trends have not really changed that much. So if we were to take a look at our composition, uh, like many of the APEC countries, uh, we are, you know, mostly in terms of number of businesses, uh, mostly micro, small, medium scale enterprise, and then only, believe it or not, a half a percent are large businesses, though they are quite quite large. If you take a look on the right screen, in terms of employment, the micro, small, and medium scale enterprise account for 62.4% of the total number of workers, and the large companies account for 37.6%. So, it's the half a percent of the companies, but take up one third of the employees. And it's the 99.5% of the MSMEs account for 62.4% of the employment. So it'll give you an idea of how small some companies are. They also account for a small share of production, of GDP, and of exports, especially, which are dominated by the large companies. So, what was the impact? I mean, all over the world, experiencing cash flow problems and liquidity problems. And you have to remember in the Philippines, we had a very long lockdown period. We started a lockdown on March 19th of last year. And we have been in and out of, well, we've been in a lockdown, but we only adjust the lockdown rules every month or so, every month to 2 months, sometimes 2 weeks. But it's always in some form of lockdown, especially in the capital region of Metro Manila, which of course contains a lot of the businesses and a lot of the workers and a lot of the economic weight of the country in terms of share to GDP. So if you were to take a look from for micro, small, and medium scale enterprises, this is just for March to April of last year, 2020, versus August to September, so just a few months later. But you can see that uh, early on in March when we first started, uh, you could have, let's say, for the micro scale businesses, 29.8% already reported a drop in domestic demand. By August, September, it was 35.4%, which had recorded the drop in domestic demand. And if you take a look at temporary closures, uh, which we had to watch closely because we felt that this might become permanent closures in March and April, just almost immediately upon the onset of the pandemic and the closures, all high numbers started recording temporary closures. So it had to suspend operations. August, September, much lower. But remember, the bulk of the closures already happened in March, April. So very early in the period of the pandemic. There were some support programs extended by the government in terms of access to markets, trying to create store spaces and avenues and platforms and online platforms for local small brands, access to finance and collateral-free loans to the SMEs, uh, and then capacity building by trying to build up e-commerce capabilities for those who did not have it. So there's a big shift, but of course we're dealing with lots of businesses and hundreds of thousands of businesses and millions of employees. So it's quite a challenge. But in spite of that, what we also saw on the flip side is that we started seeing a lot of new businesses register as online retailers. So this is completely new companies. So as people shut down, we saw other people or even the same people sometimes shift their business and go into online retail. So there was a very big jump in registration. And part of this was caused by the fact that the government also made the registration easier and made the registration online. So instead of having to come in and file and fill out forms, now you could do it from your laptop. So many people took advantage and decided to enroll their businesses. So we saw a jump both for single proprietorships and for corporations. No, and you can see that registered businesses were up in a big way from late 2019 into 2020 and continue to rise in 2021. At the same time, more and more government agencies were also forced to go online so that uh, with people staying at home, we could just transact with the government online. So that's one of the, I think, opportunities that we've seen, kind of the silver lining in this cloud. And of course, like in many countries, we saw a boom in e-commerce, whether it was business to business, B2C, C2C, a lot of home-based businesses as well coming in and using all sorts of e-commerce platforms, not really building their own, but riding on existing platforms to get into the e-commerce space. We also saw a surge in digital transactions. Again, nothing unusual, quite expected. We saw a drop in credit card usage. we saw a drop in, of course, people going to the bank. We even saw a drop in people using ATM machines. And instead of going to ATMs, people started downloading apps and using digital transactions. So the one on the right, Gcash, that alone has 33 million registered users last year. So that's roughly one third of the country because we have only a little over 100 million people. And so now it has 33 million users and many logins during the day. And people have now begun to use it. They study more than once a day. When before, this business, which has been going on for years, people would not really use it. They would use it less than once a day. Now people are using it multiple times a day. They have registered a lot of merchants and a lot of transactions. So, roughly, as I said, one third of the country's population have switched to this. And then you see credit cards down and ATM usage down. And of course, boost in logistics services. As people were unable to go out to do their traditional shopping or to dine out, then all the food delivery services, the grocery delivery services, all the package delivery services started booming, and of course, with that, also the use of their apps. So the previous slide showed Gojek, which is like the super app used in Indonesia, but the in the Philippines, we have other logistics providers, and they're moving goods every day. So today, the quick service restaurants or fast food restaurants typically serve over 50%, of their meals. 50%, over 50% of their sales are coming out of delivery. So much so that if you go to try to pick up your food for drive-through, you have to kind of wait a little while because they're also servicing all the motorcycle riders outside the store to pick up food for delivery. So, you the drive-through is not as fast as it used to be because they keep on giving to the motorcycle riders. Um, Let me close and try to go to you know the opportunities and some of the fun stories and small micro businesses which are growing uh, as they during this pandemic because they just spotted they just had the right timing, so partly luck and partly really really smart ideas they put together. One of these is session groceries. So they wanted to help farmers. So this is everyone thinks, of course, they're selling vegetables, which they are, but the truth is they built a group uh, of farmers, and what they did is they got technology and started teaching the farmers not only what to grow, what the market wanted, but they taught them accounting, they taught them budgeting, they helped them open up business accounts in banks. They place their orders through an app, and then they pay everything electronically to the bank. And they work with farmers, over 30 farmers uh, in the provinces, and they deliver right now, I think, 5 days a week uh, into Metro Manila and surrounding metropolitan urban areas. And it was just their luck that they started building this platform, and then when the pandemic struck, that they had it built, so they were able to use it immediately and expand the business. Uh, the whole public health space has changed, so because people don't want to go to clinics, people don't want to go to hospitals, but they need consultations. So there are now many sort of telehealth, telemedicine type of operations where you get to meet doctors over video, you can get prescriptions, you can do consultations. Uh, so, these have really jumped, over 400 percent, the number of consultations just within last year. So there are many competing apps here, but the what people like is they're able to actually talk to a doctor face to face and get uh, you know good consulting services on any health problems they have. This is something that's been around a long time, but people hardly used it. But then when the pandemic struck and a lockdown, people saw the opportunity, expanded, and of course, customers saw the opportunity and started using these particular types of services. And then this one I like because, well, I happen to like chocolates just like I like coffee. So these are some of the examples of businesses which, in spite of everything and a pandemic, they spent more time focusing on a very sort of maybe unique product or recipe that they had, and they uh, concentrated on this. Just make sure they protect their supply chain, uh, and of course kept their connections to export markets. And so, uh, even though they're not such a big company, but they're still able to interact with their international customers because they concentrated on making a quality product. So I think what's happened here is that there are people who have spotted opportunities. They remain very focused, and in spite of the pandemic, have been able to survive and in some cases uh, grow. No? So these are maybe just let me close and just take a look at some of the initial trends we've seen over the last year to year and a half. And I think these are not unique to the Philippines or to Asia. I think they're happening everywhere. Definitely, we've seen a lot of people go digital, uh, transactions, payments, and things like this. We've also seen a shift from people uh, closing down or shrinking their physical stores, or and moving to e-commerce, and maybe later doing both. But in some cases, they've really shut down the brick and mortar, just go completely e-commerce. But in the future, when I talk to some of them, they think they might go a little bit of both. Huh? Definitely use of fintech and digital banking on the rise. I don't think that will reverse. I think people enjoy the convenience and the security of this, so that will continue. I think workplaces, that has really shifted, and there are now, I guess, maybe three types of workplaces. There's, of course, on site, where people have to go, be physically present. A lot of businesses still require that. There's work from home. I'm one of those who work from home. I've been working for more than a year and a half now, and I hired staff online. I've never met them personally, but we meet every day, and they do terrific work uh, for me in another field on COVID response and disaster response. And yet, I just interviewed them all online and work with them online. And of course, there's work from anywhere. Uh, for some people, work from home is work from somewhere outside a metropolitan area, an urban area. Uh, I was talking to a friend of mine who works in a foreign embassy here in Manila, but I love her work from home space. She gets to work from the beach because that's her hometown. So I said, "Wow, that's really lucky." I wish I could work. I wish my hometown were in the beach. I could work from the beach. Uh, Definitely a need for new skills because it just requires a lot more digital skills and IT skills today, and so workers have to be retrained. And even for the big companies, we're constantly retraining people how to work in this new environment. And more than ever, especially for micro, small, and medium scale enterprise, dependence on logistics and supply chain suppliers. No, but logistics definitely, that's the piece that all the MSMEs need. Friends of mine who are in business, they even segment it into logistics providers who do same day delivery versus 3 day delivery. So they don't give all their business just to one company. They parcel it out to several suppliers just because they want to make sure they manage their risk, but also they manage their cost by not paying a premium price. And depending on the perishability of their product, they go same day versus 2 to 3 day to 4 day delivery. So I think that's going to continue. And these are some of the trends that we're just seeing. We don't think they're going to be going away. We think they're going to continue. And I think new business and work practices will come into play. because we think this pandemic will not go away anytime soon. And we just think that eventually, as it becomes endemic and becomes a regular part of our new health practice, businesses will have to adjust. And the adjustment, I believe, will become permanent. So let me close to that, and I'll be happy to answer questions later on. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much, Guillermo, for this interesting presentation regarding what's going on in Philippines and in the region with SMEs and entrepreneurs. We see much similarities with what is going on in our country and in this region. We will hear from Sebastián and Rodrigo, and I will come back to you with some questions after we finish all the presentations. Having said that, le voy a dar el piso a Rodrigo para que haga tu presentación. Rodrigo, bienvenido.
Gracias, muy buenos días. Voy a compartir mi presentación y me confirman cuando se vea la pantalla, por favor. Un segundo.
Ahí está.
Sí, genial. ¿De ahí se ve pantalla completa?
Sí, ahora sí.
Genial. Bueno, yo primero que todo, muy buenos días. Muchas gracias por la invitación. Voy a poner el timer porque si no voy a pasar del tiempo y sé que tenemos varios también temas que tratar. Bueno, primero que todo, muchas gracias, como decía, por esta invitación a estar presente aquí. Muy interesante la presentación también de Guillermo y también la de Sebastián. Me llamo Rodrigo Frías, yo soy subgerente de emprendimiento de Corfo, y la idea de mi rol para que se vayan un poco de esta presentación, para que se vayan también ahí complementando las miradas, es contarles un poco de cómo las agencias de fomento tienen un rol tan relevante en materia de reactivación, tanto para pymes, pero también desde la lógica del emprendimiento. Mi idea es que se queden con tres grandes temas. ¿Por qué es importante esto? ¿Cómo lo estamos haciendo? Y algunas sugerencias para el camino. Lo primero es que la verdad es que esta situación en la que estamos viviendo, si bien no tiene precedente, en Chile estamos bastante acostumbrados a estar en situaciones extremas, básicamente por desastres naturales. Tenemos un país que obviamente todos sabemos que nos rodean bastante crisis, no solamente económicas, sino también como las que vivimos en el 1939, cuando lamentablemente sufrió un terremoto, y fue el año en que se crea la Corpo justamente como una corporación de fomento para levantar la economía del país post-terremoto, y además porque veníamos viendo lo que eran un poco los coletazos, los efectos tardíos de la crisis del 29 de Estados Unidos. Por lo tanto, era importante ahí, en el fondo, poder hacer un levantamiento del país de una manera que fuese lo más ágil posible y para poder ayudar a las principales verticales del país. La verdad es que tenemos un desafío, porque la verdad es que si bien ha pasado casi más de 80 años, tenemos un problema porque nuestra matriz exportadora, la verdad es que no ha cambiado en los últimos 50 años. Eso básicamente nos pone un desafío para poder diversificar nuestras soluciones y agregar más valor. Básicamente, cómo movemos el país de una lógica de extracción hacia, ojalá, un futuro donde Chile tenga la capacidad de poder hacer investigación, de poder hacer desarrollo, de poder incorporar innovación, de poder incorporar emprendimiento dentro de su base. Bien, básicamente es tratar de movernos de una lógica de una economía basada solamente en recursos naturales a una lógica de un país basado en innovación. No estoy diciendo que los recursos naturales sean una maldición, muy por el contrario, al revés, hay que abrazar lo que tenemos, profundizarlo y agregar una capa, obviamente, de innovación. Ahora,
Rodrigo, perdona
¿sí?
que te interrumpa. Es que tu audio tiene un poquito, o te acercas o te alejas
¿Ahí?
del micrófono. Sí.
¿Ahí? ¿Se escucha mejor?
Ahí se escucha un poco mejor, gracias.
Ya, gracias. Entonces, lo que quería comentar de ahí era cómo básicamente pasamos a esta economía basada en innovación, y para eso requerimos básicamente trabajar con emprendedores. Son los emprendedores los que están detrás de las innovaciones por sí solas no se mueven, tienen que haber alguien que esté dispuesto a tomar el riesgo, de empujar, de cuestionar el status quo y de poder básicamente mover esas realidades. Y uno de los principales desafíos que vemos en los emprendedores, obviamente, es el acceso al financiamiento, porque obviamente se hace difícil para la banca poder, obviamente, entender de cómo muchas veces asumir un riesgo tras un negocio por el grado de incertidumbre que hay detrás, porque muchas veces los emprendedores no tienen historial financiero por parte de los proyectos que tienen en su cabeza. Y si bien hoy día se ha avanzado mucho, y Sebastián probablemente va a poder complementar al respecto del rol que ha tenido la banca en apoyar a emprendedores y las pymes, la razón por la cual nosotros estamos haciendo este trabajo desde la Corfo hace ya casi 20 años tiene que ver justamente con darle ese acceso al financiamiento en las etapas iniciales. ¿Cuáles son las etapas iniciales? Cuando ellos están justamente partiendo con una idea, un prototipo, una solución que todavía no está validada en el mercado, ahí es donde estamos entrando nosotros. ¿Qué tipo de emprendimiento estamos apoyando hoy como política de emprendimiento? Un poco el emprendimiento dinámico, es decir, aquellos que tienen un grado de innovación en su solución y que tienen el potencial de ser escalables en el tiempo. Ahora, el financiamiento, como tiende a pasar muchas veces, todo el mundo parte obsesionado con él, todos quieren que el financiamiento sea lo primero en la lista, y la verdad es que no es un medio, es un fin, y si bien todo el mundo quiere entender cómo por levantar recursos, es importante tener una estrategia de financiamiento en el tiempo, porque esto la verdad es que no es una carrera de 5K, no sé, 5 kilómetros, esto es más que una maratón, y eso requiere obviamente tener una estrategia detrás y una mirada a largo plazo. Por lo tanto, es muy importante mirar el financiamiento en esa lógica, pero también complementarla con habilidades, también como mencionaba Guillermo, para ir construyendo capacidades en emprendedores que les permitan también complementar de mejor manera el acceso al financiamiento con otras habilidades y otros conocimientos que les permitan entonces tener un mejor desempeño después sobre su negocio. Cuando yo me refería en términos de las etapas de desarrollo, nosotros hoy día tenemos los tres principales programas, después les voy a mostrar otros más en términos de internacionalización, pero principalmente estos tres programas que justamente responden a una lógica de desarrollo de negocio, de cómo van evolucionando básicamente los emprendedores. Como ustedes pueden ver, tenemos Semilla Inicia, Semilla Expande y Escalamiento. Y cada uno de estos programas tiene un monto distinto, pero también de alguna forma trabaja etapas diferentes de maduración del emprendimiento. En el caso de Semilla Inicia, el objetivo está en poder ayudar en la parte de prototipo, idea al emprendedor, y en la parte de política pública, el objetivo es generar conciencia, awareness sobre...
Create awareness, saying that this is a road that can be tapped, can be developed, however, it needs accompaniment. Expand up, or seed is expanding, where you have a business, and that has to do with entrepreneurships, 2 or 3 persons that are in part-time, but now they need to devote 100% of their time to build their future. And scaling is consolidation. It can be a startup when you have already hired teams, people, and also we have other programs like PYMEs and Co-Global, and there we help them to explore commercially their markets for projects to have access to international markets through a network so that they can be there. And there is a lot of information always, so it's better to be accompanied to decide what market to target and how to get there.
Programs are available. Now in the second semester, we will have a second call so that this becomes something more concrete. And in the case of the seed capital, this is only for women's entrepreneurship, giving up to 17 million pesos, where you do not only have to put in money, but also ideas for entrepreneurship, because we know that the first part of this has greater difficulties. And despite that, it is very positive for socioeconomic development. And since it is more difficult, it has to be treated from the points of public policy. We need to understand it as having an area for equal conditions. That was launched in March. Semilla Expande wants to build business relations. With this, there is, believe me when I say that there is a higher demand in terms of getting financing for projects. And this is how we can support these projects. And in terms of scaling from commercial transaction to consolidation, we can get up to 60 million pesos in the last 12 months, where you can start preparing for getting capital. And as I was saying, Go Global is a program that works together with Corfo and Pro Chile, where people's aim is to get in a coordinated manner to Colombia, Mexico, Peru, and Miami, USA. And this is because we have realized that this is a better door of entrance for Chileans to go in instead of going into the East or the West Coast in Miami. With Chile Mass, we work with a nonprofit organization and we provide a bridge with technological prospection to build a series of workshops and networks in terms of technology. So we put the entrepreneurs in contact with a series of partners for them to access to this technology pool. This is PYMEs en línea, SMEs online, and it is a platform that we have been developing. It is completely free for people that, and its aim is to digitize SMEs through easy and diverse content so that they can have access to different type of content such as online classes, and for people, and we have another one that is called Viaje del Emprendedor, the journey of the entrepreneur, a methodology in which entrepreneurs can improve their capacities and link to the ecosystem. This is a platform where you undergo a self-diagnosis and then you can move forward with your project. This is 100% free, 100% online. Corfo does not provide the content itself. It works with universities and several institutions that provide the material so that entrepreneurs can make use of it. For people that like data and want to know about the evolution of this concept, to know how the situation was 20 years ago, how entrepreneur capital has been built, you can go to dataemprendimientocorfo.cl. There are more than 6,000 projects included so that people can understand the evolution that they have had. And they can understand about the competition, the dynamism, the energy that we have in terms of entrepreneurship and the resources that need to be devoted. All of this information is downloadable. in terms of evidence and in terms of what Guillermo was saying, here there is a study that was conducted together with the King's Business School. And Chile is participating through Corfo Entrepreneurs. And it is a survey to more than 5,000 entrepreneurs to understand how they did with COVID. This is to understand entrepreneurship from the business point of view. This study addresses the well-being of those entrepreneurs when managing or facing COVID. Although this is not a cause and effect study, it provides recommendations on them to rest, to exercise, to address their well-being, because as long as they feel well, their business will do well. There are people that work 24/7 and never sleep, but that doesn't work because it is a stressful situation per se. And that study is quite interesting. And there is a current in terms of its evidence right now. Now, some food for thought is that entrepreneurship is key for a better socioeconomic development. There is a diversity of entrepreneurs, which is very positive. It is key. It is very important to have diversity so that we do not have one type of entrepreneurship, but to make the most of it, we need to combine the development of capacities. And financing is not everything. It's a means. We need to train the muscle of abilities. It's not only a matter of getting financing. We need to train this muscle. We need to prepare ourselves. We need to network. And that's why collaboration and connection is so important, as we're doing here in this webinar. And finally, we will open Semilla Expande next week. So please stay put, stay aware of our social media. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rodrigo, for providing information on the different programs that Corfo has to support entrepreneurship and to support the smaller businesses in this crisis that we're currently living. I forgot to tell the audience that the chat box is open for questions and answers later on. So if you have any questions, please write them down in the chat box. Sebastián, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Loreto. I will share my screen.
Tratando, pero parece que no me deja.
I'm trying, but it doesn't allow me.
Algo pasa con mi...
¿Quieres? Te la proyectamos nosotros.
Vale.
If you want, we can give me your email and I'll share this. Who else?
Como buen banco, no me deja compartir los externos.
It doesn't allow me, as a good bank, it doesn't allow me to share the presentation or the screen. What? Yeah, the screen. Very strange. It had never happened before, really. So maybe
Bueno, voy a tener que hablar sin el apoyo probablemente.
I will have to speak with, wait, or you can start and Luis will upload the PPT as soon as he can. So as not to waste time, you can start. Yes, I came to speak about an initiative that we are working with the ecosystem. Something that struck me of Guillermo when he presents his statistics is precisely how similar the problem is in terms of what is happening in the Philippines, elsewhere in the world, and in Chile. And when we see what is happening, we realize that truly there's not only the problem of drop in sales, digitization, affecting and striking the SMEs that were not prepared, and the need to develop new skills in order to be able to compete. But also, SMEs have told us about their concerns. And first and foremost, given that we work in a bank, is access to financing. That's the starting point. That is the most immediate concern. And that is what we have decided is not to stop financing to SMEs. All the government programs jointly with the bank, we've been one of the most active banks providing this type of support, but there are a series of other concerns beyond financing. For example, to sell again, get back to selling and recovery. Second, access to know-how and relevant information, how to rethink your business model, how to better manage this business model with the new tools that we have today for the small and medium companies, especially digital issues. So if there are many initiatives, yes, indeed, in the ecosystem, there is a lack of orchestration or true collaboration. When we speak of orchestration or articulation in an ecosystem, we see academia, the state world, the private world, the world of businesses, large, small, medium, and also the world of business associations or civil society associations. And many of them have a lot of initiatives regarding SMEs, but individually, based on their individual initiatives and not with a focus in the SME proper. So orchestration, collaboration is key in order to be able to help efficiently an SME. Today, they tell us, look, I have no time. I need to do everything in my company. I need to survive. I need to be the logistics operator, the salesperson, the accountant, and everything. So when I have to spend a lot seeking for help and who can help me in platform A, B, company A, B, I waste a lot of time. I'm not efficient. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the networking or the nets. And we all want to help. And so much access to information, to initiatives ends up being a problem or an issue for this small entrepreneur. So Valor Pyme is precisely for that. How can we help that in only one single place we can bring together and integrate all the initiatives, public and private, because we are a mirror or reflect how well public agencies are doing it, Pro Chile, Startup Chile, Corfo, and government. But also, in addition to these public initiatives, we are making available private sector initiative. And I'm not speaking about the bank. This is one more reference. I mean, the bank places a platform so that we can all come together to work for PYME. So that's Valor PYME is how we make available all this. And it seeks three major things. Thanks. And it seeks three major things, this platform. The first one is that really we connect with content. The idea is that only in one single place you can provide relevant content for my business from the very start to be available. That is, there is a way of self-diagnosis. There are courses, there are webinars, there are workshops, events every single day. But we have every single day workshops for SMEs to find the best initiatives of the ecosystem, not only the one to be provided by the bank, but provided by all the other partners and allies. And secondly, the objective is to help SMEs to generate business opportunity. The muscle force of sales is key. It's key not only for recovery, but will help SMEs that through their sales, they may incorporate new technological aspects and new business models. Therefore, all the companies of mass consumption we are making available in the area of commercial opportunities. We are making available several initiatives for SMEs to develop new sale channels. For example, one is called BCI Store. What does it do? It places a marketplace available to SMEs for them to go up, to be uploaded and connect with a target market that is much bigger than the one they could access from their analogical world. There you have all the clients, all the customer of Banca Persona, plus all the match and BCI. There are 3 million buyers available in that platform. So an SME moves from offering services in a physical kiosk or a store to a platform with almost 3 million buyers platform with all the support. So initiatives like that one are the ones we are promoting. They're ours and we make them available to the ecosystem. But there are other companies also that are doing the same in order to provide concrete solutions for generating sales. It can be from the rationale of mass consumption or from the rationale between corporate, large companies and small companies. There we are working hand in hand with Innova 360, with open innovation and with Corfo in order to have initiatives, support them, and with concrete business opportunities. The second major objective is business opportunities. The third major objective is how can we help the SMEs to solve concrete problems? Very often they say, yes, I understand this digital transformation issues. I understand the emergency or urgency to develop e-commerce. I understand how it will impact in my business in sales terms, but who do I do this with? Who can help me out? I haven't the slightest idea. And therefore, strategic partnerships there are key in order to provide solutions and connect the need of the SME with an expert in a certain area. So Valor Pyme is one same ecosystem bringing together different initiatives in the market. And the idea is that we want to make them available to the SME with the customer or the SME in the center. It's not BCI, it's not partner A, B, or C. It is the SME that is in the center, plus BCI and all partners work in that platform for them to develop their problems and not the other way around. Not that we try to leverage or a program for us to be positioned. No, because in the end, we'll confuse the SMEs.
In this site, it is what we want is for it to be the ecosystem where all the private entities get together to build initiatives for SMEs. Today, we're currently working with Corfo to provide tools for diagnosis in terms of digital maturity to be able to homologate programs that can facilitate the lives of SMEs, to make them work in a simpler way so that they can work on their businesses and they can use this tool on a daily basis for training, for creating business opportunities, and for creating partnerships and solutions. Basically, what we want to tell you here is that the purpose of the program is to put SMEs at the center, and BCI will first become a partner from our financial role, but we will also act as orchestrators together with our partners to achieve that common goal of making SMEs' lives easier to support this reactivation. Therefore, the invitation here is for all SMEs to log in to valorpyme.cl and then start connecting with all the initiatives that are available to them. They're all free, all workshops, courses, etc., all free of charge, so that this can become a place where they can consolidate all their initiatives. With this, we would like to invite you to use this tool. And in addition, if an SME, apart from consuming the content or embracing the business opportunities provided here, and if they want to invite anyone else to become a partner, we have more than 40 partners working here. If you want to become a partner, you can send me a message through our link in LinkedIn, where we are receiving all kinds of suggestions and conducting meetings with SMEs so that we can strengthen this ecosystem day after day. Thank you very much, Sebastián. When we had a meeting some weeks ago and you showed us this platform, we believed it was one of those instruments for SMEs that was just so worth letting people know of, because many times SMEs do not know where to log in, where to look for information, and this ecosystem groups a lot of information and it has a public component. I believe that public-private partnerships have become very important, especially in the current context of the crisis. And through your platform, you have built a public component with your collaboration with Corfo. With this, we would like to invite our audience to visit this website. And if there's anyone else who would like to become a partner, also, you're more than welcome, because there's still more instruments in the market. And it will be very useful for you to become part of this market. Now, I will open the floor for questions. I have a question, a general question for the three of you. Just give me a second, please. The great innovations that have accelerated due to the COVID-19 crisis, such as the use of digitization, robotics, and artificial intelligence, have opened several opportunities to stimulate tendential growth. And in the case of Chile, it should be at least 3%. But they also represent challenges for certain activities and groups of the population. Which types of policies and partnerships do you believe should be promoted in Chile and in other countries to maximize the benefits of all of these changes and leaps in innovation? Sebastián, would you like to start? Yes.
Cuando hablamos de digitalización,
When we talk about digitization, robotics, and artificial intelligence, we have found that in terms of knowledge or in terms of how close these terms are for SMEs, we still see that they are quite far. I think that people understand what they are. However, when you talk about micro businesses, these terms are quite far away from them. First, I believe that we need to make these technologies closer to people and make it in an understandable way so that SMEs and micro businesses can approach them. Therefore, the role of the state and public-private partnerships should be, first of all, to accept this type of concepts so that they can understand them and also apply them in their businesses. I would say that digitization is what is being used the most from the point of view of online sales. And in terms of support programs, this will start from the public area, from country initiatives, from support to science and research. And then the private world will follow along. But I would say that a basic element here is to start by making these concepts more familiar to people so that SMEs can apply them to their business model. And if we start with that, we will help these concepts to become something more familiar to SMEs. Can I add something, Sebastián? The question is very broad. It says, which type of policies should we put in place to maximize this leap in innovation and technology? This is an anchor into the reality of SMEs. And there are several challenges within that. Usually when these technological changes take place, let's look back at the technological revolution. These are leaps that take place between 40 to 60 years. These are long leaps. So first, we must have patience. Second, SMEs are fragile and they need concrete responses to face these challenges. Otherwise, they will have several tasks to undertake and they need to know about the true value that they provide. Therefore, SMEs need to know about the importance of these technologies and they shouldn't use all of them at once. Some people ask, should I add blockchain? Shouldn't I? Who do I do it with? But that adds only more pressure to their business. So that can create confusion. First, they need to understand these technologies. I see a challenge here in terms of policy, science, innovation, and technology, because they also need to sell, pay taxes, pay salaries. They need to do so many things. Therefore, there needs to be a coordination with public and private policies where technologies, because it takes time to get to SMEs. We need to look for those tools that will actually create value for entrepreneurs. And we do not, this is to avoid the conversation of something coming in an unexpected way when people having to just deal with it. We need to see how Chile is positioned in terms of innovation. Unfortunately, we are not well positioned. We have a lot of entrepreneurship. We don't have much innovation. we need to know and we need to be clear on the fact that these businesses are very fragile, that they're not startups, that we cannot compare them to other countries, and we need to go along with them. We need to support them, but we need to do this patiently. We can't do it very fast. Of course, we do need to change. We need to adopt new technologies, but I believe that we need to do it calmly. Otherwise, we will just do everything at once, and that's not a good idea. Thank you very much, Rodrigo. Guillermo, I will ask the question once again. Which type of policies and partnerships do you believe should be promoted to maximize the benefits of all these changes and leaps in innovation that are currently taking place? I don't know if you have any specific experiences in the Philippines in terms of government policies or programs, or if you have any experiences from the private sectors.
I'm sorry, Loreto, will someone interpret for me the question?
You need to switch to English.
I don't know if you had on the interpretation in your computer, but I'm going to say it in English.
Yes, I'm sorry. No, I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
It was impossible that you could understand me then. Okay, well, sorry for the interpreters, because I'm sure that they were a bit surprised. What kind of politics and how to say partnerships do you think that should be promoted to maximize the benefits of all these changes and big changes in innovation and what's going on with the digitalization of SMEs, etc.?
Okay.
Do you have any experience at the government level talking about politics, or experiences from the private sector in terms of programs or different initiatives to maximize all these benefits?
Yeah. Well, on the government level, of course, they have put programs. Normally from the Department of Trade that has organized support programs for micro, small, and medium scale enterprise. Sometimes you can join a market access program with the Department of Trade, or some of the units of Department of Trade that are attached to the financial institutions, the government's financial institutions. They also have lending programs for small, micro and small scale businesses, and they have also tried to teach micro and small scale businesses some skills in information technology and e-commerce. So it's more an assistance program, I would say, is the way that works. But the uh, innovation and especially the technological innovation, a lot of that has happened between private sector companies, big ones, and the small and medium scale and micro scale companies. So uh, the assistance given by the big companies has been to, let's say, uh, give uh, a waiver on rental for space, especially the big mall owners, property owners. They have given that extension just to relieve the pressure. But then the others have come in and helped with the innovation, and this have primarily come from companies who are in the bank sector to provide fintech, and from the telecommunications sector to provide digital transactions. But where we are seeing a lot of innovation are individuals who are professionals. They work for a company, and in their spare time, they are developing technologies and organizing uh, new businesses. And then after a certain point, they leave, they resign from their companies and go full time into innovating for their businesses. So it's uh, entrepreneurs calling other entrepreneurs. That's where we're seeing a lot of the partnership uh, involved. The government has some limited assistance, as I said, in lending and in some training courses, but a lot of the partnerships are really private to private, whether it's the same size companies or we're seeing big companies extend help to small companies. In the case of, say, I come from Ayala Corporation, which is a very large conglomerate, as you said. We have businesses in telecommunications, banking, property, manufacturing, um, utilities. You know, we do energy, water. We have education. We have health, and we formed a program called Ayala Enterprise Circle, where we help micro, small, and medium scale enterprises who join this circle and help them build up new contacts, gain new skills, get access to markets, get discounts on services from our group. But more importantly, we provide mentors and we allow them to meet each other, not only the companies within the same size, but we introduce them to bigger customers. And we've been doing that through last year, and we hold regular meetings. So it's kind of like a quote unquote like a membership uh, circle, and it started only with our tenants within our properties, but it has expanded and opened up to others who just want to join, and it has helped the companies survive. And in some cases, we act as the market because we are also buying some of those products. So, you know, we did feel that these companies needed to have new outlets, new channels, new customers, as it were. So we got there. Now we're not the only company doing that. There are many other companies doing that. The other innovation, I guess, is, as I said, people who either leave their company or get laid off and decide to work from home, developed and innovated from their homes and started whole new businesses doing that. And everybody working remotely they've been able to get together and organize businesses. So uh, I guess that was the best way for people to help each other. There were a lot of new partnerships created.
Thank you very much, Guillermo. You spoke about the fintechs, and I'm going to make you a question regarding that. The fintech industry in Chile is on the rise as well, but remains pretty much as an unregulated sector. Based on your international knowledge about the experience of many Asia-Pacific nations, are there any key aspects that, in your view, should be considered in any new body of legislation to boost fintech activity?
Yeah, well, you know, of course, fintech is quite new, so there were not many regulations available for fintech. And one of the fears, if you're in the fintech industry, is one of the fears is you don't want to become regulated or over-regulated, like the banking, you know, treated like the banking industry with a heavy weight of regulations. So there had to be some sort of a shall I say, a compromise or agreement with central bank authorities, the monetary authorities, the regulatory agencies on how to grow this industry out without stifling the industry. And so there were some uh, everybody. I think a lot of countries went into this sort of a sandbox framework where you could have a space where you could innovate and experiment a little bit with the business with minimal regulations until you could grow it out. And in the banking industry, at least for the Philippines, but I'm sure in many other countries, there were very strict rules behind know your customer rules, and is a quite tedious process to do. And so it was very difficult for businesses to start if they had to do too many uh, procedures around know your customer. So there had to be a compromise on how to simplify this procedure, but it took a while though. So when I take a look at the two uh, largest digital cash channels, they actually not do not belong to banks. They belong to the telecommunications companies, and they were subjected early on to having a lot of these rules. They were able to work it out. It's still not that easy, but it's certainly easier than opening a bank account. So in fact, what we've seen is that the bank side of things have become stricter because of say anti-money laundering rules, things like this. But the other fintech platforms, they've allowed a little bit of innovation to a point, and then uh, I think over time there will be regulations put in, but it will be a little more calibrated, and maybe it will come in a little at a certain pace rather than jump to the level that they're not going to be treated like banks immediately.
Thank you very much for sharing those views, Guillermo. It's very interesting to hear what has been the way that the fintechs have been searching for the way in Philippines and other countries. Having you here in this webinar today and having two prominent panelists, one from the private sector, one of the good banks here in Chile that it has a strong link with the SMEs and entrepreneurs, and also having someone from one of the main agencies of the government related to this sector. And you, Guillermo, that have been related to the international world. You are a very active member of ABAC. You have you launched when you were hosting APEC in 2014. You launched an SMEs marketplace during our year, the Chilean year in 2019. We tried to launch MSMEs B2B marketplace. How can we build upon that? Because yes, we're trying to support MSMEs, and one of the ways of, and I know that the bank BCI has a program now to try to internationalize some of their companies, some of the MSMEs. How can we promote this, move a bit forward in this sense? And maybe this is a public-private, because we did try to do it from the private sector, from ABAC, and it didn't work. Or work till some extent, but not as much as we would have liked to. What could we do? What are you?
No, that's a good that's a good question, Loreto. We always have challenges in that space, and I remember when we first started that marketplace. First, we started with a listing, a directory, right?
Yes.
And then we tried to make it transactional, and then in our original thinking, we were looking at small companies getting on an e-commerce platform or in the internet and then selling outside. And I think what we're finding is that small companies are not always able to get the volume or have the manpower to be able to manage all those activities. Okay, so now I take a look at we should maybe rethink the model. Okay, which is maybe many small producers working together a bit in a cooperative fashion, but not being a cooperative. They're still all individual businesses, but they are somewhat producing the same thing. And then in the middle, there's a consolidator who is organizing all the products and then taking care of the logistics and the marketing to sell it to a customer. So one of the companies, and this is a model that I see working locally in the Philippines. And I'm wondering whether it can be applied, the same model and thinking can be applied internationally, as you said, in marketplace and B2B and e-commerce. So what this company, one of the companies I featured in my presentation, Session Groceries. So they work with over 30 farmers, and the farmers are each an individual business. And some of them grow the same thing, some of them grow a different thing. But there's one person, there's not one person, there's one organization at the center which doesn't grow anything, okay, but knows them all. And that group, Session, the company is called Session, uh, they provide the market information so they can tell them that this product, in this case it's a vegetable, has high demand, and this vegetable has lower demand. So all the farmers, a group of them, produce the same thing, and then there's a person acting as a consolidator. That farmer can never sell directly to the city because he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't have the technology, doesn't have the supply chain management. So someone does that for them, but they are the producers, and they consolidate, and then and they're able to send it down, uh, in trucks, overland to the market. So that framework, I'm thinking, if we do that for micro and small scale enterprise, instead of working alone on e-commerce, maybe there has to be a group of them producing the same thing or parts of the same thing. There's a consolidator who will assemble it and send it for them, but they are independent companies, independent of each other. And I think maybe they'll have a better chance surviving in the international marketplace than doing it by themselves. Because doing it by themselves, I think it's too difficult if you're a small company. You need some sort of uh, consolidator, or whatever you want to call it, a big brother, big sister, to help you do the job.
Yeah. Well, what is required is that big brother or big sister to
Yeah.
because this is entrepreneur, a new business. No, it's somehow what the bank BCI is doing with Valor Pyme, which is this platform. It's trying to create an ecosystem where all this information is, but there is not this cooperative background. What you're saying, it's not there in the platform, but maybe could be a seed to start thinking about that. Especially
because I think, Loretta, there are examples we can find from strictly domestic business, but it's what we look for is the business model, and then we see whether that works abroad and works just with a different set of products. But that business model of part of it, there's part of a shared portion, and there's part of an individual corporate side. We're also seeing it in believe it or not, we're seeing it in the food business, the food delivery business, where let's say you can say 10 different restaurants, which are 10 separate businesses, but they share the same kitchen. Okay, so-called cloud kitchens, and these cloud kitchens, they are like the outsourced kitchen for 10 different restaurants, and they're cooking the recipes of those 10 restaurants, and as far as I'm concerned, if I'm their customer, I'm receiving that restaurant's food. I don't know who the kitchen is actually,
Yeah.
but I get this brand of food or that brand of food.
Mhm.
But it only comes from one place actually. And then they have the ecosystem includes the delivery service and
Mhm.
sends it to you. So
Yeah.
you don't have 10 people investing in 10 kitchens.
Yeah.
You have 10 people investing in food and menu and cuisine, but actually only one kitchen. So that's
Mhm.
part of the central part of the that kitchen is the consolidator for the production side, and and then they have a central system for taking orders, for the food.
Yeah.
So it's a model. The business model has changed. It's not independent all the time.
Well, very interesting to learn a bit what has been the experience abroad. I would like to give the floor, because we're reaching the time, to one of our participants, that Marjorie Kelopana. Marjorie, ¿estás ahí todavía? Te voy a dar la palabra.
Marjorie, are you there? The floor is yours. Please open your microphone.
Marjorie, parece que no está. Te había pedido la palabra.
Marjorie, are you there?
Ya no está.
I believe we lost her.
Bueno, voy a hacer otra de las preguntas.
Well, I will ask another question
Esta es
then.
una pregunta para Rodrigo.
This is a question for Rodrigo, and it's a little bit off our topic in the webinar. Since you put the image of a train, our country grew as the train, and thousands of SMEs grew with it. Wouldn't it be a logical idea to reactivate the train transportation system along the country, to use it in the cargo system? There are some private initiatives for that, but I don't know if you know anything about what happens in the government at a government level, because many SMEs would benefit from that. I don't know if you have any information about that. Yes, well, I know what this question is about. Well, and it's not within my area of knowledge. At Corfo, people know it because it has provided financing for films and other businesses. So there's quite a large diversity. But in terms of the train transportation system, I do not have any information. However, if you analyze it, it would be an interesting initiative. I do not know any projects regarding that. I could talk about programs that are supporting tourism due to that situation. But I do not have any information regarding that. What I do believe, though, is that with that image, I wanted to convey the fact that Chile has been feeling quite comfortable as it was, because as long as we have copper and natural resources, it seems that everything is fine. But these are not finite resources. We need to work our muscles. We need to work them with time. When you look at countries such as Israel, where there are cultural issues with innovation, entrepreneurship, and development, when you look at other realities, you realize that with innovation, you do not only need to have the will, you need to have collaborative work. However, the good news is that we have more entrepreneurs than before. Let's say that 20 years before. We have heard in the news that we have new unicorns in Chile, and this is a great news, and it's very good for the ecosystem to see that there are successful examples. We do not need to dream about unicorns and all that, but all countries need diversity. And that's why Chile needs to acknowledge that entrepreneur capital. We also need to leverage the infrastructure and the geography that we have. So beyond the fact that the train transportation system is a good thing or not, we need to acknowledge how our country is. We need to decentralize it, and we need to see how we do this in a more intelligent way. But let's not forget what we already have. Let's build on what we have. And that's the good thing about entrepreneurs. And since changes are different right now, since uncertainty is quite high, we need to have collaboration to reduce costs, as Guillermo was saying, to share costs. But that change is what we need to take into account. I believe that there is a huge opportunity in everything that we have experienced so far. And we should have a better connected country with all this. And it would be a great idea if we have a better transportation system that allows us to do so.
Muchas gracias, Rodrigo. Sin
Thank
duda,
you very much, Rodrigo. Connectivity is a very important topic because it has an influence in logistics and in the possibilities of people having new cooperations to create these cloud kitchens, for example. And for that, we need new and good distribution systems, not only within a city, but within different cities. We have reached the end of our webinar. And I would like to thank especially Guillermo, Sebastián, and Rodrigo for joining us today. It has been a very interesting presentation. We hope to have you in the near future sharing your experiences. And now I will switch to English.
Guillermo, just to express our appreciation for being with us at a very late time of the night. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It's been very insightful what you have shared with us, and we hope to have you in the near future. And I personally hope to see you next year presentially in one of our ABAC meetings. And thank you so much.
Well, it was my pleasure, Loreto. Thank you for the invitation, and I learned a lot as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias, Sebastián. Nos estamos viendo.
Thank you very much, Sebastián. Thank you very much for your invitation. Thank you very much, Rodrigo, for your interesting presentation and for letting us know about the program that Corfo has available. We also have some congratulation messages for all of you in the chat box. Have a great day and good night, Guillermo.
Good night and have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guillermo. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.